Director IDSA, Arvind Gupta, Secretary General Lee Leong Min, the Trade Minister Mizoram Mr. Roluna, Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs Anil Vadva, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, former Secretaries to the Government of India, Ministers and senior officials representing the ASEAN countries, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I am very happy to be in your midst today. At the outset, I would like to apologize for the delay. To a number of factors, we were hoping to be here by 10:15. The Delhi traffic is beyond our control sometimes. I would like to compliment IDSA, the Ministry of External Affairs, for having taken this initiative to continue the Delhi dialogue, bringing together this important platform, policymakers, thinkers of ASEAN group of countries and India. Over the years, this dialogue has evolved as an important forum of exchange of views and also to make a realistic assessment about the progress that has been registered in our engagement in over 20 years and the clear direction that this partnership has taken between India and what we consider as a very important extended neighborhood in the geostrategic terms, considering the historic linkages between the countries of the ASEAN region and India. This is not a relationship which has started now. It has been there for millennia. The very rich exchange between our people, cultural exchanges which have been very enriching, and engagement between our academics, also the business leaders, and in the contemporary context, the institutional linkages that have been evolving. We have to view this in the contemporary perspective as to what this relationship means for India and, for that matter, for the ASEAN region. In the last few decades, we have seen changes that have swept the world, bringing about a paradigm shift. So we are talking of the late 80s and early 90s. First, the old ideological divide between the two power blocks did change with the collapse of the Berlin Wall, and the world moved into a transient unipolarity phase. That is how it was referred to at that time. But we were very clear in our view, in our understanding, that the world in which we live today is different from the world that was there in the 40s, particularly with the emergence of new nations, new regional economic communities, and the development and progress which many of our countries have registered since that period. And therefore, the world, to be stable and orderly, a global order which can deliver, respond to challenges, had to be multipolar. And that has happened. With the rise of Asia, with the kind of resurgence that we see in Africa, South Americas, and also the contribution that the European Union is making. So effectively we can say that Asia is one of the poles in today's world when technological revolutions have also made their own contribution, pushing the frontiers of economic engagement and redefining how partnerships and collaborations are built. ASEAN countries, as such, have their own story to tell. There was a time as these changes were sweeping the world and our region, that the world as such did take notice of the East Asian miracle and how the countries came together for shared prosperity, development, and also having a clear vision for the future. India connected in 1992. It was a well-considered policy, the Look-East policy of this country, and my Prime Minister had thanked the ASEAN leaders for their vision, for their contribution, for the understanding in bringing about this strategic shift with a very clear realization on the part of all our countries that that is where the future belongs, with Asia being home to 45% of the population, but ASEAN and India together 1.8 billion people and almost $4 trillion when it comes to the size of our economies collectively. We can say that this is well below the potential, but the future projections make it very clear that Asia will be contributing half of the world's output by 2030, and 1/3 of the global trade will be from Asia, and that's not going to be far. We are also home to a very young population. When we look at the numbers, even in India and in the ASEAN countries, the median age is much lower compared to the median age of countries where the demographic profile is different. In India, we have more than 800 million Indians who are young. How do you define young? That's different. We're below the age of 35. And over 600 million Indians are below the age of 21. So this is the strength of our countries, that we have human resources to invest in, and these are the human resources which will power growth and development, not in our region, as we move towards building bridges of understanding to create linkages between nations, between our institutions, to tap the potential, enormous potential, that ASEAN region, and going beyond as we look towards Asia-Pacific region offers to us. We can say that today, in the second decade of the 21st century, we look at the strengths of the countries which are coming together in trying to take the entire region towards greater economic integration, that Asia has also 3 of the major economies of the world, if not 4. And that is the change which has come in the last few decades, as we were talking about the paradigm shift, the rebalancing of the global economy is taking place, and surely a new economic and political order has emerged. How we connect with that and benefit from that is important. We have, besides the ASEAN countries, Japan, which has been and continues to be a formidable economic power. China, India. We have seen good progress. We have also seen our slowdowns, but we remain focused and moving towards becoming a $2 trillion economy, which we should have become but for the slowdown post the financial crisis and the economic crisis. But I have enormous faith that we will be able to reconnect and go back to a very high level of growth that this country is capable of. Now, if I look at what we have been doing together, ASEAN and India, I'm not going to go into the details which are better known to all of you. Our regular summits, which have made their own contribution and added to not only knowledge, enhanced understanding, but also each summit has been a reaffirmation of our collective commitment to forge a partnership which connects with the evolving economic, political and security architecture of the region. ASEAN and India have entered into economic partnership, the Regional Economic Comprehensive Partnership now, after the 2 chapters have been signed, the services and the investment. But way back in August 2009, when we signed the FTA, that was in merchandise trade, between then and now, during a very challenging time for the global economy, the two-way trade has continued to grow, investments have continued to grow, and India's trade with the ASEAN region crossed $80 billion, and the investments, our investments in each other economies, are about 75 billion. I feel it's well below the potential. We should reach or make a push for reaching the 100 billion mark by next year. I know it's a tall order, because we have to add another $20 billion to reach that figure. But whether it is doable, the answer is yes. We have to have faith in ourselves, and also the structures and the institutional mechanisms that are being put in place. What is important is connectivity. Connectivity and also benefiting from the technology, because today the world, as we know, is different when it comes to the new global chains, the way the manufacturing is done, and how countries can connect to those value chains. Some of the countries of the ASEAN region have already connected to those value chains. India too is seeking to do that. It's amazing that earlier, when manufacturing was done locally within countries, and how it has transformed, that you have an end product coming out of one country, say an iPad coming from China or iPhone, but there are another 8-9 countries connected with it, from Japan to Thailand to America. I was reading about the Boeing aircraft, where 22 countries are involved in the production chain, about 250 odd parts of the plane. That's how the value chains are being built. This is what ASEAN and India need to look at by enhanced connectivity and institutional linkages. That is happening, but we have to actually give it more momentum. And we can do that. India is committed when it comes to ensuring this larger connectivity. The work is going on, and later you will be talking in your sessions where we are. It comes to the highway, as you call it, the West-East Highway or the East-West Highway, the multimodal transport corridors which we are developing. But this is the Tammu-Kaleo road. And I was in Myanmar a few months back, and we did look at very seriously as to what the bottlenecks were and what our 3 countries in particular were doing to remove those bottlenecks and ensure that this becomes operational. That's India, Myanmar and Thailand. When we had the commemorative summit, a trial was made when we had the car rally, and Sanjay Singh was the Secretary in the External Affairs at that time. I do recall very enthusiastically our people were telling us about this car rally and how it retraced the route. There was also the Indian ship which went there, and that also was a way of registering and accepting the important contribution that connectivity can make as we seek to consolidate this engagement and this relationship. I'm sure with the steps that we have taken and the steps that we have in mind, in particular about setting up of a ASEAN-India Trade and Investment Center. This is my ministry is committed to take it forward. We have to work out the modalities so that it becomes again another platform for policymakers, business leaders to look at how we can give more depth to a partnership which is multidimensional and multifaceted. In addition to that, we have re-energized the Business Council, ASEAN-India Business Council, and in the last meeting that we had of the ministers, that was in Brunei in August 2013, we had agreed to have a secretariat of the AIBIC, and Malaysia had offered to establish that. I hope that is established. ASEAN-India business fairs have become a regular feature. We are also looking at other key sectors, priority sectors of our cooperation which have been identified, ranging from capacity building, agriculture, the entire health sector, including healthcare, pharmaceuticals, infrastructure, education, science and technology, and beyond. It's a long list. But even if we look at the key priority sectors, I think we can achieve a lot by working together. We have many ASEAN countries where the companies having or businesses which have experiences in building good infrastructure who are present in India, investing in India, working with us. Similarly, leading Indian corporate entities, both public sector and private sector, are engaging more and more with the ASEAN region. But going beyond that, as I did refer to the partnership which embraces all, and the architecture which is political, economic and security. Security of the region and stability is equally important. For us, most of our trade goes through the Indian Ocean. And as a head of the Indian Ocean, we do recognize, along with the ASEAN countries, the importance to ensure peace and security when it comes to our maritime regions, Indian Ocean, and also going beyond up to Pacific. Right from the Hormuz Straits to Malacca Straits, to ensure free and secure movement of merchandise trade is very important. There have been challenges where our countries have learned to work together. And India is fully committed to ensure that together with its ASEAN partners, we will ensure this, that we do not allow any situation to develop which comes in the way of free movement of goods, and for that matter also of people. My Prime Minister had spoken about a transit trade agreement, and at the ministerial meeting, India had agreed to establish an infrastructure using the technology for seamless movement of goods and traffic. So these are the tasks that we have set for ourselves, and we should act upon each one of them, whether the Trade and Investment Center, the Business Council Secretariat, the TTA, and the architecture using the technology. We took a decision in 2012. It was important because that marked the 20 years of our engagement. We had the commemorative summit in Delhi. And the declaration of the summit is not a mere declaration, but it is a very strong affirmation of our leaders as to what they see in this partnership, which has potential, promise, and it was also a very honest reaffirmation to work together. And we also saw a decision being taken at the East Asia Summit prior to that, the launch of the RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. That was a decision made in the Sharma ministerial meeting and recommended to the principals, and the leaders accepted and endorsed. Last year, we formally launched the negotiations. Now, if we look at the depth and the potential of this partnership, which brings together all the ASEAN countries, along with China, India, Japan, South Korea, Australia and New Zealand, is very important. And when it takes shape, and when we conclude the negotiations, I have reviewed the progress. We are satisfied the way we are moving. Yes, there will always be issues and concerns because these are complex negotiations. But once this agreement is concluded, by ensuring that it is balanced, it addresses the developmental interests and concerns of all the countries. This will be a major step towards enhanced integration of the East Asian region, but more importantly, it goes beyond that. It is a major step towards the economic integration of Asia-Pacific region. India is fully committed to realize this, recognizing the fact that other parts of the world had the wisdom or the opportunity to achieve what we are seeking to achieve long back. Beginning with North Americas, when the agreement on free trade was reached in North Americas through NAFTA, in South America through Mercosur, and then the Andean community. And the same has been the path taken by the countries in Africa through the regional economic communities. Here the countries of ASEAN and the leaders had the wisdom to do so, and now we are expanding it by bringing in its fold other major economies together, which can redefine the order that will influence the changes, that will influence definitely the course in the 21st century world. I do feel that this dialogue, your deliberations, the recommendations that you will make to us, to the governments of the ASEAN countries and the government of India, will be factored in our future approaches as we take important decisions. I have no doubt in my mind that what we do together will have a defining influence in the coming decades as we see Asia making bigger and bigger contribution regionally and globally. With these words, I would like to wish your deliberations all success. Thank you.